So recently, I've been thinking about expectations a lot and how they change the way we experience a lot of things. I feel like it kind of goes without saying, but having overly positive expectations usually leads to stuff kind of under-delivering, and then having overly negative stuff can feel like it kind of over-delivered, or you can kind of just hate it a little too much, like more than you actually should. I have a couple quick examples. There's 28 Weeks Later, which is a horror film I watched, I think like 2 years ago at this point, but I was expecting great things because if you know the intro, and then it kind of just ended up being mid. I watched 28 Days Later, which is the prequel to that, and that I was expecting and I got something actually pretty good and a little unique, especially for the zombie genre. And then I watched Deadpool and Wolverine. I heard mixed things about it, so I came into it with a mixed mindset, and I got a mixed movie. But there were some really good highs and some weird lows, which mostly was just the humor was not that good, to be honest. And then there's this game, Spider-Man Web of Shadows, legendary game if you know it. I was expecting like a really interesting story with like decent but maybe outdated gameplay, and it kind of ended up being flip-flopped. It was great gameplay, very lackluster story. If you know, you know. But yeah, those are just some things I could think of that were affected by the ways that I had expectations. I mean, I can think of infinite examples of real life events. Basketball games, I came into it thinking I was a shit, and then I ended up, going 2 for 10, or coming into it thinking I'm not gonna do that great. All of a sudden, I'm shooting from deep, cashing in people's faces, which, it does happen, okay? It does happen. There's video proof. I'm gonna see if I can find it though, but it does happen. So obviously, a lot of the times to avoid this, for the good and bad that there is of expectations, you obviously have realistic approaches. There's this term I learned called realistic optimism. That's kind of just, taking the middle ground, expecting good things, expecting bad things, and just being happy with what comes out of it and trying to find the joy in it. And to be honest, I really like realistic optimism. I think it's the way you should approach a lot of things, especially in day-to-day lives. But I also really like manipulating my own expectations, especially for stuff like games and movies and stuff that, was made over time, and you're actually coming into it having expectations regardless. I watched Thunderbolts recently. I wasn't really expecting much. I got a pretty solid movie. I watched Wonder Man. I was expecting kind of a slower show or maybe a too fast-paced show, and I got something that was actually unique and pretty cool. So manipulating my expectations, I actually got something pretty cool out of it. So yeah, next time you're in a situation, things might feel bleak or maybe too positive, just manipulate expectations. Manipulate yourself. It'll work in the end, trust me. Always does.